So once people bought it, then I had to go create it. I spent the next few days creating the first module so I could have it ready for these guys. And taking a step back really quick, the week that I decided to do Periscope, I found this thing in New York called Periscope Summit. I've never been to New York City, and I was stressing, holy crap, should I go to this? And I came to the point where I ultimately realized, if I'm going to be the Periscope expert, then I need to freaking be at the first ever Periscope Summit. And so I bought a plane ticket and an Airbnb to go to New York. And so I ended up going to New York City in September. And that week in New York was a freaking crazy week. I was doing a lot of traveling. I had taken some time off for the month of the door-to-door so I could work on my Periscope stuff. So for the first half of September, I worked my face off to try to do this 4-module course to figure it out where I was going to host it. I ended up choosing an easy platform called Zippy Courses that was like a plug-in to WordPress. And I ended up almost finishing the course right up to, well, I had 2 modules totally complete and was working on the outlines for modules 3 and 4 when it came time to go to Periscope Summit. So I went to Periscope Summit, and that was awesome because I was around other Periscopers and other experts that are doing Periscope. And so I learned a ton. I got to go to New York City, and I ended up having to leave 1 day early because I came back, I think, on Friday. Okay, no, I came back on a Thursday. It was a day early. So I came back on a Thursday late night. I stayed in Vegas, and then a friend of mine in Vegas, we drove out to California to run a Spartan Beast. It's like 12 miles of obstacles. And so I traveled like 7 different states that week. It was crazy. But ton of valuable, challenged myself a ton. So now I'm just still getting into this more. And one thing starts leading to another that starts to snowball. And I got to tell you one thing to help it make a lot of sense. I went to another event in San Diego around this time, actually just before this time, it was called Social Media Day. And while I was at that event, I knew almost nobody there. Outside from some of the speakers, I knew nobody there in attendance, except one dude. There was one dude that was there that I recognized. And I remember I was sitting there, people were starting to have a little after party, and nothing really interesting was going on, and I was about to leave, and something just said, no, there's something else why I'm here. Why am I here? And I just sit there, and this dude, this guy, comes and sits down at this booth I was at. And he's the only guy that I recognized in the whole place, and I recognized him because I saw him at the Nick Unsworth event, Ignite. This guy's name is Jeff. And I was talking to Jeff because, again, he was the only one I had anything in common, and we did this cool experience where we walked on glass at the Nick Unsworth event, Ignite, and we walked on glass, and then we broke through a solid board. I had never done that before, and this guy Jeff was a guy that actually held up the board for me. So started talking to him, and the thing that makes Jeff so significant, besides the fact that he's just a stud, such a cool guy, loved his story, loved what he's up to. But in that conversation, he asked me if I heard of this event called Thrive in Las Vegas. And I hadn't heard of it. And he was like, you need to check it out. You need to go to it. There's going to be people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Robert Herjavec, and these other from Shark Tank are going to be there. You should look into it. I've always wanted to meet Gary Vaynerchuk. And I was like, well, what's the ticket price? And he said $1,000 roughly. I was like, holy crap. That is a frick load. There's $1,000? And he's like, yeah, just think about it. And so I left that day, and I was like, man, that's crazy. But it came to the point where I just said, you know what? I gotta frickin' do this. I'm gonna see Gary Vaynerchuk. That's freaking awesome. I've always wanted to meet him. People from Shark Tank. If it's $1,000 a ticket, there's gonna be high-level people there. Frick, I'm gonna do it. So a couple weeks later, I bought my ticket. The event was in October. So now I'm coming off the event stuff that I did in September, and now that I'm in October, I go to this Thrive event, and it was amazing. I got to sit on the front row and listen and talk to and meet several high-level people like Gary Vaynerchuk, like Robert Herjavec, and the event was put on by Cole Hatter. He spoke. Just so many people, and I made so many awesome connections networking. And at that event, some really cool things happened. Really, really cool things. First of all, I got to have real genuine conversations with real high-level people. It was the first time in my life that I was surrounded by people that I felt like they were my entrepreneurial family. I've never had a room like that, so that every single person was trying to build a business. Every single person was trying to go after it. And I loved that. So a couple cool things happened. I got some pictures with some high-level people, so that helped with my branding. One of the people, Ty Lopez, was there, and I ended up talking to him about Periscope because he just had recently got into Periscope pretty heavily, and I noticed he didn't have his link set up on his profile. I started talking to him about that, giving him some Periscope tips, and then he connected me with his right-hand gal, Maya, and Ty Lopez in his office ended up buying my Periscope Pro course. And so that was pretty cool because now I could almost use that as a branding story that one of my clients is Ty Lopez. That was pretty freaking awesome. Also, while I was there, I was helping a few other people with Periscope, and I made some connections with people that knew I was the Periscope guy, people that were wanting to learn about Periscope, and I ended up making a connection with somebody named Amanda, who we ended up doing a webinar together about Periscope, and then I could sell more of my Periscope Pro courses, and we would just split the profits. And so now things are getting a little bit more and more real. Things are getting bigger. But here's one big thing that happened at Thrive. So this guy Jeff, again, such a stud. I connected with him a little bit. He was awesome, gave me some business tips throughout the event. But on the last day, I just wanted to sit down with him personally in a kind of a quiet area. And so before the next day, or the last day was up, I found him and said, hey, I want to do breakfast with you in the morning. Where and when do you want to do it? And so we met for breakfast on the last day, and we just hung out and got to know each other even more, looked into how we could support one another, and something really cool happened in that conversation that I'm so grateful for. I said something, he was like, what's your next thing? And I was like, I want to get known. I told Jeff, I was like, I want to be out there. Like, I want to do a guest blog post for somebody, do a podcast for somebody, or something. And his ears perked up for a second. He's like, you want to write for someone? And I was like, yeah, like entrepreneurs. Or he was the one who said, do you mean like for Entrepreneur? And I was like, I would love to write for Entrepreneur magazine. And Jeff asked, are you good? Do you know how to write? I was like, I think so. I'm okay. I was good in college with writing. I write every day because I actually type in my journal. I don't know if that helps. And he was like, okay, I'll tell you what. Jeff was actually a contributor for Entrepreneur magazine. He told me that he would connect me with his editor and to see if I could get on Entrepreneur. So he ended up giving me, he didn't give me his contact, but he gave me permission to give him an article that he would then give to his editor. And so that was freaking awesome. So I came off of this event, and a couple days after it, I wrote an article, at least a draft, for a Periscope, about Periscope. And I gave it to Jeff. He sent it to his editor, and his editor didn't like it. The editor said, no, this is not very interesting, and he threw it out. And at the time, I was like, what am I going to do? And the editor did say, though, but if he, meaning me, has another article idea, feel free to send it my way. But don't give me a whole draft, just give me the bullet points. And so Jeff was like, okay, I'll let him know. So now we're into November, okay? And things are just going kind of slow. I'm still doing solar every afternoon, staying really busy with that. And I'm sure there was something big in there that I'm probably missing, but to keep this going, one thing that happened is I had set a goal for November. It was a November goal to get back with entrepreneur.com with not one article idea. I wanted to send in 3 because I figured that instead of just sending one, they would probably just reject it. I want to send in 3 ideas. But I kept dragging it out and dragging it out. I ended up going to Utah for Thanksgiving and stuff like that, and then I ended up not doing it, and the month was coming to an end. And I came back to California, I think it was December 1st, and I was like, man, I set this goal, I want to stay consistent with myself and have integrity with my own self, that I did this thing. So right when I got back home, I just came up with 3 rough draft pitches that I had already started, but I finalized all 3 of them. It took me like 5-10 minutes, and I sent it off for the editor to look at. And a couple days later, the editor came back and said, yes, let's do this one. Let's do your article on this. Told me to do it with about 700 words, and said, yes, you're in. Now send me the article. And so now I'm like, freaking yes, I just got accepted to write an article. It wouldn't come out, they said, for about 12 weeks, but I could write it. So I took the next week, I think, 5 to 7 days to write the article, to make it good, all while I'm doing solar. And then I went to Utah for the holidays and everything. And then something really, really cool happened at the very beginning of January. And now I'm catching you up to the front of the story. It changed everything. So I think I'm actually going to end this video right here, since it's now the end of the year, into the story. It's the end of 2015, and on my next video, I'm going to catch you up to know exactly what I'm up to from January 2016 to now, just the 21st of January. So I'll see you there.